Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Monday Matt channel, and it's been nearly 4 years since GamerGate. And you might be asking yourself, why the hell do you keep bringing up GamerGate all the time, Matt? Can't you just let it go? Your relevancy is over. Your time in the spotlight is done. Your 15 minutes are up. Just go off and die in a hole somewhere, which will guaranteed be comments on this video. But the truth of the matter is, hey, I'm not the one bringing it up. I'm not the one bringing it up. I'm not the one turning it into a damn boogeyman every single time they need something to attack. That, of course, is the media, right? The online media that can't let a consumer revolt for ethics and games journalism just die, even though technically it's still more of a watchdog these days than anything else. But I'm not the one doing it, so don't bring that up on me. This is where we are right now. Because this article popped up yesterday, and I wanted to cover it yesterday, but I'm one video day right now, guys. So it says here, Star Wars Backlash is the new GamerGate. Oh my God. Gavia, what's her name here? Gavia Baker-Whitelaw. Okay, who just to give you an idea of what kind of person this is. This is one of her previous articles just the other day. Guild Wars 2 fires employee for calling out mansplainer on Twitter. Considering that the guy never mansplained and he just politely talked about what was going on from his perspective, or just from a general perspective, is not mansplaining. So it gives you an idea of what kind of nonsense is in this particular op-ed on the Daily Dot. But this is where we are again. GamerGate. Evil boogeyman of the internet, right? So it says here, toxic fan entitlement and sexist harassment are out of control. Again, I'd love to see some evidence of this. I'd love to see some actual hard evidence of anyone on YouTube and Twitter who are out there with their faces and everything else that are really pushing this kind of stuff. Not being critical, but like saying some pretty terrible stuff. Because the thing is, it exists. I know it exists, but I guarantee you it's not tied to people that are really talking about the issues. Now it says here, the LAST JEDI backlash has evolved from a fandom argument into something approaching GamerGate. Oh, okay. So it's not GamerGate, but it's the new GamerGate. Well, what is it, Gavia? What is it? Is it something that might be similar? It might be on the track, not quite there yet, or is it exactly the same thing? Right? It's your little doublespeak there. Don't think I didn't notice. I noticed. Now, fueled by the combination of fan entitlement and good old-fashioned bigotry, Star Wars is embroiled in the same culture war as the games industry, sci-fi publishing, and superhero comics. I wonder why. I legitimately, ironically, wonder why. Is it because there is a subsect of activists out there that have found a way to weasel themselves into these particular products and these particular groups, these particular fandoms, and then found a way to attempt to change it from the inside, and anyone who disagrees with their particular narrative, their particular ideology, and their particular actions are met with open hostility and outright anger and bigotry of their own right, called things like white supremacists and sexists and bigots, and tried to say that they are harassers simply because they have a difference of opinion and they don't want things to change? Has that ever maybe possibly occurred to you? Yeah, you list off a couple different groups here that have all had these similar incidences. Yet you always say that it's sexism and it's misogyny. Perhaps it's you, Gavia, that are pushing the false narrative here. Perhaps it's you that is using your platform on the Daily Dot to lie about people who simply like politics, to be and to be everything else along those lines, to be kept out of things that they enjoy and the hobbies that they keep. Perhaps in their escapism, they want it to actually remain that. But no. It's good old-fashioned bigotry, right? Right? That's a quick side thing. There are people out there who have been bigoted. I've seen it on both sides. All right. But the vast majority of people just have opinions. That's it. But leave it to the Daily Dot and people like Gavia here to publish such nonsense. Now, it goes on here to talk about Andy Gutierrez is a familiar face to anyone who watches Star Wars YouTube channel, co-hosting the Star Wars show in Rebels Recon. In other words, she's a public-facing Star Wars employee with no creative role in the movies. Fan podcast Rebel Force Radio singled her out on Monday for posting a selfie with the Fanboys tier mug, prompting a wave of criticism from their followers and a deluge of support from other Star Wars fans and creator. Well, the thing is, the tears mug, hate to break it to you, it means cum. She's drinking fanboy cum. That's what it is. That's why there's a joke about it for the most part, because the tears aspect means semen. And that's actually a gag that was started from Liz Finnegan, who is a pro GamerGator games journalist during GamerGate, and a person who I very proudly call a friend. Liz is great. She's awesome. You should check her out. She made that joke a long time ago because we all know what it means, but you know, that's part of the joke here. And it also does come across as condescending when someone who is an outward-facing person who represents Star Wars is drinking from a mug that says fanboy tears. Yeah. Because that, you know, because as we've learned, when you want to anger your consumer base, it's really good to call them all fanboys and then mock them being mad about stuff. Chuck Wendig here comes out to defend her. Chuck Wendig is a guy who basically claimed that you know, that if you don't like where things are at Star Wars right now, you're kind of a white supremacist. He's attacked fans before too. Mitch Dyer is a former games journalist for IGN, having written Battlefront 2, co-written Battlefront 2. He is also very much friends with Anita Sarkeesian and lives and breathes in that particular camp. I don't think I need to go any further into his particular lexicon. Now, it says here that Rebel Force Radio is one of the biggest names in Star Wars podcasting and also one of the most controversial. Past episodes include rants about why there shouldn't be so many female-led comics and assertions that Star Wars' supposed target audience of white men will be wiped out. Well, the thing is, though, what they were actually referring to is they're talking about sales and who actually purchases these particular items. And they were referencing quite a bit back to how Marvel has been coming into that same exact fight right now. When Marvel started pushing this pro-SJW, pro-feminist agenda, we started seeing sales die off. You had literal GamerGate jokes make its way into a Loki comic. You had Angela, Queen of Hell, have an issue where she talked about Bor Bunsen, Thor's grandfather, having quote-unquote unsolicited opinions on Israel, as if a Norse god would give two shits what's going on in the Gaza Strip. That kind of rhetoric, people looked at like, why is this in a Marvel comic? This shouldn't even be here. Again, keep politics out of what is essentially escapism. Or if you're going to talk about politics and social issues, find a way to weave it into the story where it fits naturally and therefore has a better chance of impacting someone's subconscious versus just hitting them over the head with unsolicited opinions on Israel, which just makes no damn sense. It's been a couple years since that. It still just cracks me up. Also, the turning Captain America into a Hydra agent. That was a big thing. Ooh, man. But what people are talking about here, oh, I should say Angela, canceled. Mockingbird, canceled. A lot of those particular comics, canceled because people aren't buying them. That's the point I want to make. People aren't buying them. So when Rebel Force Radio is talking about these female-led comics that aren't selling very well because the male demographic isn't really buying them, that's what they're referring to. And in Marvel, we've seen it happen. I don't know the sales numbers for Star Wars. She does say here that Dr. Aphra, which is a female-led Star Wars comic, outsold Lando and Poe Dameron last month. But it also depends on where it's at in regards to its particular, number line. We've learned that when it comes to buying comics, the first one usually sells really well because people want to get it as a collector's item. A lot of people buy it, put it in a little baggie, put it in a box, put it in a closet, and forget about it, right? And then it just downsells over time. So I don't know if Dr. Aphra, if it's new or if it's old, is going to be outselling Poe Dameron, which I know is on like issue 23 or 24. Or right around the 20s. So we're going to see a significant drop off over time. It's a natural progression of sales. So again, we can revisit that topic at another day. Now it goes on to talk more about here how this resembles Gamergate. Gamergate, Comicsgate, and other online reactionary movements all follow a similar formula. It always involves harassing women and minorities, usually while rallying against diversity or SJWs. Well, it's not rallying against diversity, it's rallying against forced diversity from SJWs that always tend to put the narrative first, the story second, and they attack anyone who doesn't agree with them. They always view it as being bigotry and hatred and sexism and misogyny. This is what you guys do as a way in order to sell a narrative, in order to then make people feel bad, feel guilty, and then shill out for the products that you're purchasing or that you push out there. And ultimately, it might do well one month or two, but then it still finds a way to fail miserably. Comicsgate is very much only related to Gamergate in the sense that it's trying to push back against what they deem to be an attack against the fan base. Gamergate was about ethics and games journalism. Full stop. That's what it was. Comicsgate is pushing back against a narrative in comics that has been, like I said before, interjecting these politics into these comics, and people just aren't happy with them. And when the criticisms come out and they're met with this outright negative response and they're called all these names, they push back. Now, don't get me wrong. For the sake of fairness, Comicsgate, the people who are definitely kind of leading the charge, they use some salty language, stuff I wouldn't necessarily use myself, but they've also launched their own Kickstarter campaigns to run their own comic books. And between a couple of them right now, it's nearly $1 million. And it would probably put Dr. Aphra sales to shame just based on a month-to-month basis, based upon simply the pre-orders for that comic. They're showing you that people are willing to pay money for good material. That's the whole point of Comicsgate. Language aside, that's the end goal. Well, you're choosing to try to equate it to a harassment campaign when a lot of times all these guys are doing are reacting to what's going on from people in the comics industry that are technically punching down on their audience. Go figure, people are going to get a little bit salty and react. So, but when they start calling truth to power, that power then reacts negatively, and we get articles like this. Now, this goes on to say, this goes hand in hand with astroturfing campaigns and attempting to exert influence over an industry or community. In case of Gamergate, the games industry wasn't prepared. Gamergate framed itself as a movement of disgruntled customers, which they were, persuading Intel to pull its advertising from the gaming site Gama Sutra, which they did, and helping to get someone fired from Nintendo. Well, let's be fair. Let's be realistic here. Allison Rapp got fired from Nintendo because she was operating, moonlighting as an escort. For one, and two, she was posting erotica-based photos on her Twitter, which was linked to her Nintendo account. And she would also be sitting there holding Nintendo products while she was wearing, lingerie and negligee and whatnot. She was fired for her out-of-work operations, her off-duty operations, not so much what she was saying. So there is some. So don't try to astroturf what actually happened with Allison Rapp. There's a lot there that she did that was wrong. People just uncovered it when it got to where it was. I think the Allison Rapp situation was handled poorly on many different fronts, 100%. But at the end of the day, it was her actions that got her fired. She still has to live with her own consequences here. I just want to make that abundantly clear. So several companies capitulated to Gamergate's demands, and industry leaders failed to support lesser-known victims of harassment. Reluctant to take sides, many people accepted Gamergate at face value as a campaign for ethics in games journalism. In reality, its lasting legacy is one of bigotry and harassment sparked by a guy lashing out over a messy breakup. Okay, let's be realistic on that one too. It wasn't that Aaron Joni lashed out over just the messy breakup. He was cheated on 5 times. 5 times by his previous girlfriend. 5 times. And he had enough. He had enough of being dicked around. And in the age of Me Too, they should be championing this. There should be articles retroactively going back and calling Aaron Joni a hero for calling out his abuser and his oppressor. That was his relationship. But no. That's not going to happen. That's not going to fucking happen here. Of course not. Because, he lashed out about a messy breakup because he was cheated on 5 times by the woman that he loved. He was upset. God forbid he has emotions and he put it out there to warn other men away from the kind of crap that she's into. And as a result, it uncovered a lot of crazy stuff. And people say, he made it all up. No, he provided receipts. Unlike a lot of these claims of harassment that people like to put out there, by the way. And as a result of this, Gamergate really started when you had the Gamers Are Dead argument, the articles come out. 12 articles from 12 different publications in one day, all decrying gamers as being over. Gamers are dead. Gamers are no longer your audience. Organizations that are meant to tell you what games are coming out to get you hyped were then acting as the moral arbiters of the internet, telling you that, you don't have to be, that game publishers don't need to worry about their audience anymore. Gamers are over. Those would have been fireable offenses in any other industry. But, no, we're the assholes for pushing back against it. Right. The thing I love about this particular article is how full of misinformation and astroturfing, revisionist history. When I deal with people who are on the anti-Gamergate side, this comes up constantly. Don't get me wrong. There were a lot of issues with it. Milo Yiannopoulos was a big part of the problem, being sent in by Steve Bannon. Don't think that was wasted on me. No. I'm pissed about that. But at the core tenets of what Gamergate is, what it started off as, and what it ended with the SPJ Airplay event in August of 2015, a year after Gamergate started, showed you precisely what it was about, and the fact that the Society of Professional Journalists backed it implicitly enough to host an entire days-long event, complete with dealing with multiple bomb threats and threats on people's lives for having the gall to discuss ethics in video game journalism. Yeah. Mean words on Twitter. That's the fucking problem. Right. Okay. Gotcha. I love this stuff. I love it. I love that you lie constantly. You have to. It's the only way you're able to get any kind of anything done. You just have to lie. Right. But it goes on to say, and we're going to continue here. Something similar is now unfolding in Star Wars fandom. Back in 2015, The Force Awakens inspired a fake racist boycott from 4chan trolls, which led to a real, if ineffective, boycott against Rogue One. Not really. The fake troll from 4chan was called out. Everyone knew it was a troll, and the movie still made over $2 billion. So, again, numbers completely didn't impact the movie. Rogue One was the first non-episode spinoff, so it still did 1.3 billion. Oh no, 1.159 billion. I'm sorry, my mistake. 1.159. Sorry, still crossed $1 billion. Rey attracted sexist criticism from the start, which escalated with the addition of Vice Admiral Holdo and Rose Tico in The Last Jedi. Rey was accused of being a Mary Sue, something I very much disagree with for the most part. Vice Admiral Holdo was a character that had purple hair in an age where if you are a cranhead, you were probably mocked for that online for many cases. But she also was a poorly written character, a wasted attempt at trying to garner sympathy for her heroic act at the end. What was meant to be a heroic deed that should have elicited tears from many fans was wasted because her character came out of nowhere, and was given no backstory, no reason to give a shit about her in the first place. Part of the biggest problem of The Last Jedi was the fact that it was poorly written. Case in point, Rose Tico. Did we really need a 20-minute side sequence of them going to a casino planet in order for her to rally on about the ethical treatment of animals, only to release them while leaving slave children behind to continue being beaten and overworked by their slave masters? Right, animals, okay, children, slaves, they're bad. But no, it's all made up at the end of the movie because one of them's got force sensitive, can move a broom. The broom boy exists. Why not take the kids with? Right? Why if you're gonna save the animals, save the children. But no. Excellently written movie, excellently written character. Never have a problem. There's no flaws there. There's no flaws, right? Not at all. There's also a growing belief among the subset of fandom that producer Kathleen Kennedy is the root of all evil in the Star Wars movies. She's not the root of all evil. She's just highly incompetent and has lost control of the fandom. And people have called for her to step down. And Solo's poor box office results kind of back that up. It's obvious that Star Wars fandom has a sexism and racism problem. No, those people aren't fans. They're called third-party trolls. GamerGate suffered from this as well. The FBI did a 2-year investigation into GamerGate and determined they didn't do nothing. They a good boy. So we already know that this is from people who are not Star Wars fans that are just trolling actual Star Wars fans. But you, Gavia, can't understand any kind of nuance or actually have the chance, can actually do any research on your own. You have to sit there and just attack them for, oh, the racists and the sexists. They're not. You're just an idiot. And I don't say that lightly. And I don't mean that to be ironic or to be playful or to be funny. You're an idiot. This whole thing is an idiot. It is an exercise in idiocy. It's so much misinformation that is out there, that's verifiable information, and you're spreading a false narrative. Similar, again, just to bring this up here, Guild Wars 2 employee, Guild Wars 2 fires employee for calling out mansplainer on Twitter. That's where your mindset is. Misinformation, false information, fake news, misdirection. And you wonder why there's this implicit distrust in the media where people like me do better than people like you because we, well, are more effectively truthful. That's just the way that it is. Now, anyway, and thanks to toxic reaction to The Last Jedi, it's metastasizing into a full-blown movement. Because The Last Jedi was a bad movie, people are not happy with the way things are going. So they're vocal, but you pick the worst of the worst in order to make it a straw man argument. Good for you. How does that activism feel? Pretty good? Okay. Of course, The Last Jedi backlash isn't all about identity politics. Some old school fanboys are just angry about unexpected creative choices, like Luke Skywalker's downbeat storyline. They hate that Rian Johnson reintroduced Luke as a grumpy old man instead of a badass Jedi Master, and that he dumped J.J. Abrams' hints about Rey's parents in Snoke. But there's a stark difference between criticizing a movie you don't like and persistent rage against The Last Jedi, Kathleen Kennedy, and Johnson. But the thing is with that, well, you're not wrong. And that's the only thing I'll probably give you credit on in that regard. But the way that it works essentially is that what you've got is fans that are upset at The Last Jedi, and they've come out and they've said, we're upset about The Last Jedi. We don't like where things have gone. We don't like where things have been. We don't like where things are at. And the response is, you guys are just misogynists, because that's what we're getting. And we're getting that from people like you. And then that anger, that rage, that frustration turns onto the creators themselves when they actually do the same thing, which is what we saw with GamerGate, essentially. And so then it gets people to be upset about it because, like, wait, hold on here. Like, all I'm saying is I don't think that was very good. You could do better. And I met with you're just a sexist, misogynistic, 4chan racist, bigoted troll. Does that seem like the punishment fits the crime at all in this regard? The answer to that is no, of course not. It doesn't. It never did. And you are literally pushing a false narrative for no other reason than to pray at the almighty altar of feminism or of pushback on that particular social justice warrior agenda. That's what you're doing. And it's so transparent. I'm surprised you're just not see-through at this point. I'm surprised people just aren't looking through you when you go everywhere, because that's how transparent you are. You know, like Windex you need instead of a shower to get rid of the streaks, is it? This is a ridiculous mindset, a ridiculous concept to push. Star Wars Backlash is not Gamergate. It could go that way in terms of being a consumer revolt. Parts of it already have. The last thing you want is for it to go full-blown consumer revolt, where people, fans, long-term fans online, stop buying the merchandise, which they've already done. Stop seeing the movie. Oh, Solo. Stop engaging with it. Stop purchasing it. Stop giving it any money. And as they watch people like you defend the actual like aggressors in the situation in many cases, and how things have been portrayed, and defending a false narrative, it's only going to make the situation worse. Why don't you stop for a moment and look at it and go, maybe there's a reason why they're all upset, which you kind of touched upon in that last little paragraph there. You kind of touched upon it because you feel you probably had to add a little bit of that fairness in the back end, right? Yeah. Anyway, Star Wars Backlash is not Gamergate. Gamergate is just a boogeyman you call upon in order to scare little children at night, to let them know that if they get out of bed, the Gamergate monster could come and get them. Yeah. Because online consumer revolt for ethics in video games journalism is now akin to something you would hear in the 1800s Transylvania about a monster living in a tower up on the hill and coming to kill you in your sleep. Grade A propaganda, Daily Dot and Gavia Baker-Whitelaw. Grade A propaganda. But to the rest of you, if you've made it this far, I really do appreciate that. This went on farther than I wanted to. Be sure to leave your comments below. I am curious to read them. And if you guys like the video, be sure to toss it a thumbs up. If you're new here, slap on that subscribe and check back every day for a new video from me. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day and peace out.